Something like. See if we can find that. I think he got paid. I think he got fucking paid.
It's everywhere. I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
They got it in there.
I've never even tried it. Have you tried it?
I don't
Here
think
it goes.
so.
How much did Conor McGregor sell? Proper number 12.
600 million.
600 million. Cha-ching. Made $100 million from the Mayweather fight and just started rolling.
Wow.
It's worth $500 million. And he's, 35.
Is that it?
That's it. Yeah. Wow. I mean, if it wasn't for his leg snap, he's still in the prime of his career. But that leg snap's a real problem. That's a real problem.
He's not coming back from that, huh?
I don't know. I mean, if he does, he'll be the first. And if anybody does, maybe he can do it. Yeah. If anybody can do it, maybe it's him because he snapped his leg in the prime of his career. Anderson was a little older. I believe he was 36 or 37 when he snapped his leg. Chris Weidman was a little older. It's a hard one to come back from. Nobody really comes back from that one. It's just...
Is it because you have to have metal put in there?
You do. You have to have plates, and then it's also... You got to think the difference is you're kicking, and you're taking kicks. Like, guys are going to kick you in that shin for sure. They're going to kick you in your calf.
Scar tissue and everything,
Nerve damage,
calcium
all the above.
Buildup,
And you got to think when that leg snaps, it snaps like that, right? And then you got all that broken bone that's damaging all that tissue inside of it. And I don't know the extent of, how much damage was done, but it's been 2 years, right? Is it about 2 years now? Since he last competed, I believe it's about 2 years. And, there's all this talk about him and Michael Chandler fighting from The Ultimate Fighter. I know he's sparring. I've seen footage of him sparring, and he looks good. He looks real good. But he also looks saucy, so there's that. So, you got to get off that. And then there's a 6-month period where USADA has to test him randomly. Which I think that USADA thinks a mistake. I really think they should do all that in-house. Because USADA does stuff like, they don't do it anymore, but they were doing stuff like waking guys up at 6:30 in the morning, like the day of the weigh-ins, and testing them. It was fucking insane. Fucking insane. For world title fights.
Right.
Fucking insane. I just think that if anybody can do it, it's going to be Conor. If anybody is going to come back from that and fight again, it's going to be Conor. But, it's that famous Marvin Hagler quote. It's, it's hard to get out of bed and run in the cold when you're sleeping in silk sheets. When you're you're the champ and you're rich as fuck like he is, and he doesn't have to do nothing forever. He's got generational wealth.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, here we are in the situation where, he's still in the prime of his athletic career. And he lost that fight to Dustin Poirier, but it was a great fight up until the moment his leg snaps. And so,
well, you know what? He is a different breed, man.
He's a fucking savage.
Yeah.
He's a real savage. I hope he comes back. I mean, it would be an amazing story, and I would love to see someone actually come back from that injury because so far, Weidman, came back, and not taking anything away from Brad Tavares because Brad Tavares is a fucking beast. And he looked great in that fight. He looked so good. But Weidman looked a step behind. But you all got to think Weidman took 2 years off as well. It's hard taking 2 years off and then jumping right in the heap with a top 15 guy, and a guy like Tavares is a real veteran, is real talented, and, real driven too, super disciplined, always in great shape, always fights well, and is a real good striker. And he was just chewing Weidman up, Weidman just couldn't get off.
Wow.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, it is a bummer.
It's a bummer because that fucking injuries, man, it's like all these other, so many other injuries guys can come back from. Soft tissue tears, you get them fixed, you come back. That one that's a motherfucker, man. It's just
think about it. You break your leg right in half.
Yeah. Frank Mir came back from that. Frank Mir got a motorcycle accident where he got T-boned by a guy who ran a red light and got sent flying. I think they said he flew like 30 feet through the air and snapped his femur, so his upper leg. And it took a long time before Frank was back again, and arguably never really reached the same form that he had. Huh? He still beat really good guys though after that. He still beat really good guys. Frank was still a real world-class heavyweight after that break. And he might be the only guy now that I think about it that's ever come back like that.
Right.
But everybody, that was, I don't know the extent of that injury. I do know that he had like real problems with that leg though, and there was a real touch and go moment where they didn't know if he was going to make it.
Right.
I mean, you snap a femur, that's that big bone,
yeah,
and there's
yeah.
some blood flow. It's
so thick. You know,
yeah.
to snap that thing, you know how hard it is to snap that?
Yeah, it's just when you got to buy a car, it's a different situation. But it's just that lower leg snap. Apparently, it's just very difficult for it to fully heal. It's not like an arm. Like you break your arm, they put a pin in it, you're good to go. I know a lot of guys who broke their forearms, and they went back, and Paul Felder, a lot of guys, they get their forearm snapped like blocking a kick, and they get back in there, and they're okay.